Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please. And away we go.
It is a Feedback Friday live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel here, heading into Packer Viking weekend, gentlemen. Just a great month to start the season here. Purple Daily, this was thanks to you guys, the audience, whether you've been with us for years or maybe you just discovered the show. The first 3 weeks of Purple Daily, the biggest audience-wise first 3 weeks to start a season in show history. So thank you, Vikings, for being good and interesting. And thank you, Purple Daily audience, for supporting and or tolerating us. Before we get to Feedback Friday, your questions, comments, concerns, critiques, your theories on the Purple and a Snake Draft of the week. This is the final weekend of Minnesota Renaissance Festival, a special Festival Friday today, Ladies and Lords Shopping Day today, and a discounted admission ticket includes wine, gift bag discounts, and more. This is the final weekend of the Minnesota Renaissance Festival where you can throw axes, wield swords, watch live armored combat jousting, 16 stages of entertainment, and a huge marketplace. Discounted tickets at renaissancefest.com. And Quick Trip also powering us here on this Feedback Friday, Judd.
Absolutely true. The weekend is here, and so you know what? You might be saying, I got to run out and get some snacks. I'm going to watch the game. I got to get something to enjoy the game with. Or you know what? Heck, you might be low on groceries, and you're saying, I got to go to the grocery store. I hate the parking lot. It's such a pain, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Quick Trip has all of the answers. It's like a great high-functioning offense. You know what? It's got a screen game. It's got a deep game. It's got everything. It's got a run game. Quick Trip is the place to stop if you are in need of snacks, if you're in need of, heck, groceries, pumping gas there. Yeah, don't let that tank get to E like my friends here do. And while you're at the pump, if you have the Quick Trip app, you can order all of your groceries. They'll bring them right out to you. You talk about convenience. You talk about our friends, our good friends at Quick Trip.
Let's start with Digits NF9 in the YouTube comment section here. And he was listening to one of the shows this week. So he has the show today is convincing me that I am no longer drinking purple Kool-Aid, but actually purple nourishment. I haven't felt this confident in the 5-year outlook for this team since the early 70s. So he's an old school fan.
Oh, wow.
What are your thoughts on confidence in the 5-year outlook? So 2024 through like 2028.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a viscerally strong take on this.
Well, all right. I don't go back to the early 70s, but keep in mind when that team, they had been and lost a Super Bowl with Joe Cap. But in 72, which was actually a disappointing year, they had gotten Tarkington back. And, you know, there is your quarterback. And that team opened up a window at the time, pre-free agency. That's a very important thing to say. That was clearly very, very good even then, and you knew it. And it did not pay off with the championship, unfortunately. It did pay off with 3 more trips to a Super Bowl. I would say that period compares to this. Also, Bud Grant. So you had a great coach, and you knew it. Like O'Connell. We know now O'Connell is really good at what he does. This isn't like, well, he's young and exciting, and I think he's good. This is, no, this guy's good, right? Bud Grant was good. You know, when the Vikings, now the quarterback was a little bit more dicey at this point, but when they drafted Moss, that offense, there was a window that opened there that was really good. The only thing is Denny had been around a while. I would say that this person from the early 70s is probably could probably draw an apt comparison between how Vikings fans felt then and now, especially with the wild card of, I still think JJ McCarthy is your starting quarterback in 2025. And we've been talking about this for a while. In my opinion, that opens up a window that I didn't expect to go open this season, and it looks like it might, but I am still really, really bullish on what starts next year. And O'Connell has done nothing since we talked about that, but prove himself even more as the guy that can be the mind behind the success.
So real quick, I agree with digits and F9. This is the most confident I have felt in my life 5-year outlook. I have felt more confident in a 1 or 2 year outlook when they brought Brett Favre in, and it looked like he still had some juice, and that defense was loaded. And then you get into like week 3 of the 2009 season where he starts to show you the magic arm against the 49ers, right? I felt like, oh, that's a Super Bowl team. 1998, I felt like, oh, that's a team that can win in a 1-year window, win a Super Bowl. But in both of those cases, you didn't know who the starting quarterback was going to be the next season because you were dealing with these old veteran guys. So in terms of a 5-year outlook and confidence, there haven't been that many times in my life watching the Vikings born in the 1980s where I can look and say, I kind of know what this thing is supposed to look like for the next 3 to 5 years. And here is my viscerally strong take. And I will put this in write that down form on Wednesday next week. I've already put it in my write that down notes. I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl in 2026. I think they are building the base right now for what will be the first Super Bowl championship in franchise history in 2 seasons from now. 2026 season. So the 2027 calendar year Super Bowl. And here's my sort of theory or logic behind this. It feels like what the Niners have been building with Kyle Shanahan, but they've been hodgepodging it with quarterback, right? They've got the left tackle and weapons and toughness and scheme, relatable offensive-minded coach, and this amazing car. And it's like, who's driving the car? Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. He just goes blue screen of death 3 times a game. And then they put Brock Purdy in the car, and he's like the last pick in the draft, and he's really good, but he's not like a transcendent talent, and you saw it when he's in the biggest games. The roster is more carrying him than the other way around. This feels like what the Chiefs... So it feels like what the Niners have been building, but with a potentially much higher-end quarterback in JJ McCarthy when he gets the shot. It feels kind of like when the Chiefs found Andy Reid, and they're building a great roster, and Alex Smith is driving it, and they're winning 12 games, 10 games. Then you put Patrick Mahomes in the car, and boom, now you take off, right? I think they're building the base of it right now. Sam Darnold is the Alex Smith. Sam Darnold is the Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he's one of the top 17 to 20 quarterbacks in the world, but he's not that guy. Next year, JJ McCarthy steps in. This team remains competitive playoff team, maybe even makes a little run in the playoffs, but he's not going to do it his rookie season, his first year playing. But I think it all clicks his 3rd year in the league, his 2nd year as the starting quarterback. Christian Darrisaw still in his prime. Justin Jefferson still in his prime.
Can't say that without this.
I have a feeling.
You can't say that without this. Woo-hoo. Look at that flag go.
It's just where I'm at. It's just where I'm at.
Yeah, and to your point too, actually, to go back to the Niners, they actually did have the McCarthy type plan with Trey Lance. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like they were never intending for the last pick of the last pick of the entire draft to be their starting QB. So they did actually, like, the Vikings are following the same blueprint. We are just assuming from what we've seen that they actually hit on the first rounder. And, if Lance works out, that's a 5-year. And I think that this is incredibly important because it allows you to plan more. 5 years of control instead of 4. 4 goes really quick. That 5th year is a nice thing. Like, McCarthy's going to miss this entire year, but you still got 4 years left.
Yeah.
So San Fran did sort of plan for what you're talking about. It just, unfortunately for them, blew up on the quarterback front.
Yeah. So, call me crazy. Call me. Maybe I'm just feeling the vibes after a 3-0 start. But
the window's open.
This feels like they're building the base of something very sustainable.
Yep.
And by the way, some people pointing out, well, wasn't Kirk sort of the Alex Smith? Well, they basically have they've got Kirk and Sam Darnold. Both, Darnold, I think, is more physically gifted and talented than Kirk, and there's a reason why he was the number 3 overall pick in the draft. Both guys, when put in good situations, absolutely top 20 quarterbacks. Kirk maybe more like top 10, top 12 at times. neither one of those guys is carrying a franchise at the top like Mahomes. And the Niners are fine. I mean, the Niners, if you were to just give them one of the top 6 quarterbacks in the league, and I know Purdy's numbers suggest that he is, but he's really not. Like, he's a good player, but he's sitting in the best situation. So, call me a homer, if you will.
And honestly, look at the state of the NFC right now. Like, the NFC is in this weird transitional era where, like, Stafford's on the way out, Kirk Cousins is older. There's some nice young quarterbacks here that are developing maybe into stars like Jordan Love, or maybe Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels take a next step. But, like, you look in the AFC, and you have, obviously, Mahomes and Herbert and Burrow and Lamar Jackson. They have that entire conference is loaded. And, yes, you still have to beat an AFC team to win a Super Bowl. But the NFC is wide open right now. It just feels like there's no one that has a stranglehold on the conference, and there's not really, like, a gauntlet of teams that you, like, are threatening the Vikings to block them from winning a Super Bowl or even going to a Super Bowl.
It actually kind of feels like Packers and Vikings are in line to be really, really good in the next, like, 3 to 4 years. So, Scott Hansen. I don't think it's like Dateline NBC Scott Hansen. But
8 hours commercial-free football.
Commercial-free.
Or that Scott Hansen, yeah.
The bye week, man. I cannot wait. I cannot wait just to sit there and watch that red zone.
Commercial-free, bathroom-free football. So he says 3 weeks into the season, a lot of Vikings fans are looking around wondering if this is for real. There's a couple indicators you guys have mentioned on the show historically that indicate if a team is for real. So let's look at those indicators. Number 1, point differential. Yeah, we hammered that 2 years ago as a reason why this thing was probably a house of cards. But hey, it was fun to be winning close games. And he says in 2022, football people hammered the Vikings as frauds for having a negative point differential. This year, among the 3-0 teams, the Vikings have the second highest point differential, plus 55, behind only the Bills, plus 64. So, yeah, I agree. Over the course of a large sample size, creating separation between you and the opponents, A, proves that you are legitimate, but B, prevents you from getting into coin flip games where, like, if you don't stop a team at the end, you lose, or a fumble could change the game. And then number 2, last year, Mackey loved to talk about how tough the Niners were. They were so tough that teams would often lose the week after they played the Niners because of how beat up they were. Well, look what happened this year to the Giants in week 2 after playing the Vikings. And the Niners themselves in week 3 after playing the Vikings took the L against a depleted Rams team. This team is tough, and as Judd says, they just want to kick your ass. I think this team is for real.
Most definitely. Yeah. This is not. Now, it's weird because to be successful, you also, like, you can control a lot. Environmental things, right? You can control a lot. There are things where guys get hurt. I mean, San Francisco is decimated right now. But that being said, where I give this team credit is they have done everything possible to put themselves in a position to be good. And that's all you can do. If guys get hurt, you can't control that. Like your staff can try to do as good a job as possible about keeping guys fresh. Hence why I think O'Connell had a walkthrough on Wednesday, which, as we discussed, is sort of odd for week 4, but it's probably a good idea. But yeah, I think that this also is really the first time too, and this is what I think is so heartening about this entire conversation. This is the first time too that Kwesi and O'Connell, this is their team. Like, this is their team. The first year Kevin did a fantastic job with Zim's team. And it was sort of a breath of fresh air. But think about right now. Think about the personnel here now. And more importantly, think about the identity. Like, think about the 22 team, the identity, the not very tough. They won a lot of late games, and Kirk was great late, which was very weird to watch. But just think about the difference in what you're seeing now. And I think what's really, really encouraging about this whole thing is the identity of what the Vikings are doing now, to me, is a sustainable way to not just win games, win playoff games. If you play like this in a playoff game, you become exponentially more difficult to beat than that 2019 collection that went into San Fran in the second round. Yeah, and and soft, and your quarterback is lining up under guard, and they're frazzled constantly, and that's where supposedly that's where Diggs basically said, "I'm gone."
When the starting quarterback lined up behind the guard with
Supposedly
piss running down his leg in a road playoff game.
Supposedly there was an incident on the bus after the game where he basically said, "This ain't gonna work. I want out."
Yeah.
So but the difference there, I love the thinking inside the building as far as we know, as far as we can tell. I'm very encouraged about that.
By the way, people pointing out correctly, I mixed up. Chris Hansen is the Dateline NBC Catch a Predator guy.
Yeah,
and then, Scott Hansen, obviously the red zone guy.
God, Scott found like his calling in life. It's one of the greatest things I've seen. He used to be in 2009. He was here constantly on like the Favre beat, chasing Favre around, which is fine. That's fine.
Just like reporter for the league's network.
Just a reporter guy. But then he finds this, and he's great at it.
It's I just want to emphasize what many people have before, that being able to hold your bladder for like 7 or 8 hours and do a show like that.
How about throwing to games though? No. And talking and
there's that whole yes.
I mean,
the organization of I'm sure they have a bunch of different producers and stuff that are throwing him information, but to be able to know, okay, I'm throwing it here, whether someone's telling me or not, and then know what you're seeing on the screen.
Yep.
Right.
After not having one, okay, we're going to take it right here, and it looks like so-and-so caught the pass. It's like he has to know all the numbers, skill position players.
Octobox.
Shout out, man. The Octobox.
I like tear up when I hear that. I hear Octobox. Or... Let's go Octobox. It's like, oh my God, it's the start of an NFL Sunday.
Time for the Octobox.
Oh.
Time for the Octobox. Time for the Octobox. Time for the Octobox. No bathroom breaks. Greg Ewing Lee says, with Brian Flores being undoubtedly a key reason for our current season success and outlook, how does his inevitable departure to be a head coach at some point impact our Super Bowl window? What can the Vikings do now to ensure the defense doesn't collapse in a post-B-Flow era?
Oh, boy.
I love how we already have anxiety about like, the defense is going to collapse in like 2 years.
I get it. It's a dicey question because there's two ways here. There's one is that you think a guy on his staff is good enough to sort of continue what he does, which I believe would probably be a guy by the name of Durante Jones. I think he's the top guy. Or do you say what he did was so special, we don't have a guy that can exactly replicate that, because we have seen before where it's like, well, just hire the guy who is the assistant, or just hire that guy as head coach. He knows everything, and they don't. And Flores is such a clearly football savant and genius that when the time comes to worry about that, it will be very interesting to see, because I wouldn't just promote a guy because I think he can be B-Flow, because I think Flores has proven he is a special talent, including giving guys the autonomy on the field. Like, that's something that's not really football.
I mean, Donatel literally came in and said, hey, everyone, Harrison Smith, this is my defense. And Harrison Smith, you're going to just go about 15 yards back this way off the line of scrimmage and stay there for 4 months. And to not allow players like that the freedom to do Harrison Smith things at the very least, right? And the freedom that Brian Flores, or the framework that he is giving these players, is much wider and looser than clearly what you saw 2 years ago.
My spies throughout the National Football League tell me that the reason, and this is not surprising, the reason Harrison Smith came back was Flores, and that if Flores had left, Harrison was probably going to call it quits.
Yeah. Do you think it kind of feels like this is being teed up as his last year? The way he's talking right now, some of the things he's saying to the media, I don't know that he's done after 2024.
I don't know that it's outrageous. And I know that if Flores gets a coaching job he likes, he's gone. Okay. So I'm not saying he's not. But I don't know it's an outrageous discussion to say, one, I think if you're the Wilfs, you go to KO and say, okay, contract extension, and you're going to make a lot. But then go to B-Flow and say, let's tear up your contract. Let's give you a significant raise as well. And here's the reason why I don't think it's stupid to say that Brian Flores might stay put. Well, first of all, if his lawsuit continues, I don't think he's going to get a job. Like, I don't think that you can be suing essentially Roger Goodell and get a job. I don't care what you've done. But let's say that's done. Brian Flores had a very, I would call it, probably traumatic experience. I mean, that Dolphins thing, asked to lose games. Tua basically, if nothing else, Flores went off the deep end, I'm sure, because of the pressure. So wouldn't you hope that Brian is at a point in his life where, unless he's offered a job where he is like, this is it, like, well-run team, that he might be a little bit more discerning? Because he's got it so good here. Do you really want to go to a potential Jets situation, for instance?
Yeah, you're right. He should be discerning, but you're trying to be discerning with everything you just said, having a terrible experience in Miami with also there's only 32 of these jobs in the world, and your iron is only hot guaranteed right now. If a couple guys get hurt or guys age out or whatever, and that defense goes off the cliff, and the Vikings, you're not guaranteed to get that offer again. So, but if he's the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league, it makes it easier for him to be discerning, taking that head coaching leap at some point. And he's not even 50, right? What's Beefalo, like 46?
Yeah.
Any guesses?
No, I think he's 47, 48. Yeah.
43. He's 43.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's got time. But he's a smart dude. Like, that Dolphins thing, that was really, really sideways.
It's amazing how quickly Tua's at this very unfortunate crossroads in his career where, like, retirement is legitimately on the table for him. But how quickly that narrative has shifted in literally a month from, hey, Brian Flores was an a-hole, and Tua's this great young guy that's up and coming, and till a month later, the Vikings being one of the 5 best teams in the NFL, and holy crap, look at the job Brian Flores is doing on defense. Like, I don't even think much of any people now, like, really remember that, and that was just a month ago, which goes to show how crazy this can change the NFL with just narratives and talking points.
Yeah, stock up, stock down for those guys.
Sounds like a segment.
Stock up, stock down.
Stock up. Coming up next, stock up, stock down.
We played the Tinder game a couple times on our old radio show. Swipe right or swipe left on this particular topic.
I actually sort of enjoyed that for sports. It was a lot of rejection from me.
I like swiping.
Original Red Phoenix on YouTube says, heard a cool nickname for the Vikings defense on the Green Light with Chris Long podcast. A bunch of people are throwing this out. Purple Haze is what Chris Long called the Vikings defense. A shifty, confusing defense. Purple Haze. Are we getting behind Purple Haze? Is that a nickname for this defense we can get behind?
It's not bad. Yeah, I saw Purple Rain because of Prince.
Yeah.
At some point in time.
We'll take it into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard one I love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Corey Larson says, do you think Kevin O'Connell could fix Daniel Jones? Not that I would want to see that in a purple uniform, but just like theoretically, do you think he could fix Daniel?
Kevin O'Connell. So here's my summarization of O'Connell's ability to coach that position. Do I think he could improve Jones? Yes. So let's consider a line here, all right? Let's draw a line. And let's say that O'Connell can make almost everyone with talent better. But the line is, and we saw this, Nick Mullins. He's the test case for what O'Connell can and can't do. And I say that because Nick Mullins put up some pretty nice stats. Came in last year, 400-yard passing game. I mean, Jefferson thrived with him. But the reality is, if you go blue screen of death, O'Connell can't fix you. Like, he can make you better, but he can't tolerate it.
Yeah.
So
there's a certain level of, he can go on one of those cooking shows. If you give him like base level edible ingredients, he'll cook a meal.
Yeah.
But you can't give him like a can of oil and like a 6-iron. Like
and then you go in the drawer and you're like, these tomatoes are great, and they're like spoiled. And it's like, give the entire crew botulism, Kevin, because throw these in. But Nick Mullins would have, clearly blue screen of death. And look, none of that came from O'Connell. He was not like, hey, just take a chance here. Darnold has had that, and they've cleaned that up. So that's what like makes. So if you're trying to say, okay, why is Darnold above the line of Nick? It's because he's thrown 2 picks, but in both cases, they're not blue screen of death picks.
Yeah, no,
That's the difference. And if Daniel
with
Jones has that, I don't know that he can be tolerated in O'Connell's world.
I think with Daniel Jones, he's terrible at throwing the ball down the field. He just looks like a beta deer in the headlights. Does he look like? And obviously, KOC can work with any ball of clay that isn't necessarily like a top 10 alpha, but Daniel Jones looks like he's about to get run over by a car every time he's on the football field. Like the wide eyes and skittishness in the pocket. So do I think that KOC could get a lot out of him compared to other coaches? Yes. Do I think anyone can get Daniel Jones to be like a top 10 quarterback? No, I don't think so. I don't think he's like.
I think what Kevin can do just from a mental standpoint as well is I think he can instill a ton of confidence. Like Sam Darnold is playing confident right now. Like he is playing like, you know what? I am good. That's largely O'Connell instilling that and propping Sam up. But therein lies, to go back to our conversation, I believe it was with Dukes yesterday, therein lies the difference between JJ McCarthy and Sam. O'Connell is getting Sam to play his best and be confident. JJ McCarthy, in a very good way, shows up completely confident.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be built up. Yes.
Like, in my opinion, when 2025 starts, Kevin O'Connell is going to go from a very nice ride, nice car, and he's going to get in a Lamborghini. He's going to get in, that's McCarthy. That's what O'Connell sees. You're right.
Speaking of McCarthy, Brady LaRock says, happy Feedback Friday to those who celebrate. Brady, to you and yours. Mm-hmm. Just wanted to let Judd know he's not the only one with a man crush on JJ McCarthy. This offense is going to be so much fun to watch next year with JJ, and I'm glad we're off to a hot start because it's making the wait go by faster. With that said, Judd, our beloved sports dad, could you do some investigating for us on when JJ is going to be back in the facilities, on the sideline for games, etc.? Can't wait to see him on the sidelines, listening in, celebrating with the team, getting in those mental reps. Real quick, I think he's like in the practice facility.
Oh, he's there
during the
all
week.
the time. Yep.
Yeah. But I had heard after the 49ers game that he was not yet cleared to be in the stadium for the games, but that was going to happen maybe even like last weekend, if not once they come back home after the London stuff.
So he talked for the first time since the surgery. He talked to the media, I think, right before the Giants game. And if you guys recall, he was on a scooter, nice one too, but a scooter. You can't be on the sideline if you're on a scooter because you can't like move. So he is in the facility. I believe O'Connell says that he meets with him for at least an hour a week, if not more. Yeah. So like this is not a he's gone thing. And as far as games go, good question. I will try, and you know what? I'm going to put that in my notes. And
why don't you put that in your notebook?
O'Connell today about that.
Why don't you throw that in there?
A couple of questions.
Are you just going to write this on a sheet of paper that you won't, that like you'll throw away?
No, I've got my notes. No. This is my Friday schedule. O'Connell time. O'Connell questions.
Yesterday, Phil, you know how we always tease Judd about never remembering, our recording schedule?
Yes. Yeah.
So yesterday, during the debacle, that was the worst Major League Baseball game that I think both Judd and I have ever seen in person. Judd was just writing down, hey, so tomorrow we have, Royce, we have Purple Daily, we have Scoops, and he's just writing it on a random sheet of paper, which got me thinking, like, why don't you just, like, put this stuff in your phone?
No, or transfer it to here. Because I like, okay, guys.
But what if you had that schedule just like in digital form, and it was just there all the time?
Because when shows get done, I mark them off. It's some
my
type of
like that.
mental thing here.
Yeah,
but I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I'm old, and I'm telling you, I love two things. The paper, I get irrationally happy when the paper is at my doorstep. I don't know why.
Got that cup of coffee.
And I got a cup of coffee, and I like to write things down. And I know exactly, and look, I take a lot of notes now on my phone and send them to myself. But there is something about the generation that I was raised in where there's a satisfaction of actually pen to paper or in this case, holding a paper and reading it.
Yeah.
We do the Kelsey does the calendar every week on the fridge. Like, hey, so Sunday night.
Dawn does that now.
Does the whole you got all right. You have Twins games on
the
Monday,
shared calendar
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Is key. It's very cool.
We have a dinner date on this. Vinny has a vet appointment on this. Like we do that, and by she does that,
She's an
and
old
then
soul.
I chime in with some of the things that I have to do this week. But I get it. I do get it.
I'll tell you on the shared. So I think we've been together for 13 years now. Married for just under half that. And it took us until maybe a year and a half ago to have a shared. It took us like a decade to do a shared calendar of some kind. It's a game changer.
It is. It's very nice, actually.
Because we can just both. So like tonight, I didn't know this, but I'm looking now. We have a nice little dinner date with some friends tonight. Looking forward to that. But we know that you can just throw it on the calendar.
Wait a minute.
And you can peek it.
But it's in your phone.
Oh,
It's
on
a
your
shared.
phone.
Yeah, no. Dawn has one on our fridge, and she's like, "Here's my schedule
that's what
this
we do
week."
too.
And then I don't
but
look
hold
at
on
it and
here.
say
So
it.
did were you not aware that you had a double dinner date until today?
I think it rings a bell that this was maybe mentioned while I was paying 20% attention, like watching Sunday Night Football or something.
That seemed like a curb situation. Like you woke up today like, oh, we have this, and then
No,
your
I'm
wife
excited.
Said,
Love these friends.
But,
These are great friends.
but your wife says, hey, no, this has been on the calendar for a week.
I even put Vikings away at noon on Sunday, so we know, is it like a noon game, or can we do brunch before? Can we not?
Right.
It's great.
I hate trying to sneak in brunch before a game.
Well, if it's like a 3:00 game though, you do
Different story.
But noon, I don't know.
I wake up, I make my bloody, I have a coffee. It's great. It's my Sunday ritual.
A bloody and a coffee.
Bloody and a coffee. I sent out the picture last week. I literally had a bloody, a coffee. I had a beer chase at 10:55 a.m. ready for football. It was
There's nothing wrong with that.
Ready to go.
No, that's
ready
great.
to go.
James Richardson says on Feedback Friday, I know you don't take write that down predictions via email, but I've been in the kitchen cooking up some predictions. I'd love to share at least one with you guys on Feedback Friday. It is strictly prohibited to go on the record via email with write that down predictions because it would be impossible to sort of organize that. But I'm going to share this one. And I think we just share it. It can't be officially put on the record books, but James says, write this down. Josh McCown will be the head coach of the Chicago Bears week 1 of the 2025 season.
Oh, I should steal that. I love it.
That's a great prediction. And
James?
Also terrible because the Vikings would be losing their quarterback's coach that's molding Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy. But that's
awesome.
Former Bears quarterback, right? Josh McCown.
And a guy that the Texans wanted to hire supposedly as their head coach with no experience. So here's an interesting McCown sidelight type that's going on that I find really intriguing. Like, clearly, this dude is very, very smart, and clearly he is doing some good things. I mean, KO gets the bulk of the credit and deserves it, but I mean, Wes Phillips, I think, is far more in charge of like the run game now, which is going great. But McCown's the guy who helps, I think, O'Connell the most with the QBs. And he's done there's been a couple of stories on him locally here, but for the most part, he has worked very hard to avoid the spotlight. Like, he's worked his ass off.
Yeah.
Like, his name could be front and center way more. He doesn't want that. So
he's being respectful, I think. He's being
he
respectful.
is.
I like it.
But I mean, that's sort of a head coach. Like this is interesting. Like, I could see this. This is a great prediction, and I am only jealous that I did not unleash this one at some point before.
It's open first. Yeah.
It's open. Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell was a little bit the same way, and obviously when you have a Sean McVay, or in this case Kevin O'Connell, who's the offensive-minded guy who calls plays, then those guys are doing the bulk of the work. But I felt like all throughout his time with Washington and the Super Bowl year with the Rams, he was doing the coordinator press conferences. But when his name started popping up, it was like, oh, okay. And McCown's more of a household name because of his quarterback career than Kevin O'Connell was. But I like that he's kind of staying under the radar. He's got that chiseled coaching jawline, too.
Great
you could see him at those
phenomenal
press conferences.
Right.
Kudo, our friend in Washington, says, "Hey, I think we feel like our offensive line is a plus, especially our offensive tackles. But you listen to Packers podcasts, and be careful, man. Packers podcasts. They're coming at us yesterday. Cheesehead TV was coming at us.
I enjoy Cheesehead. I think it's a great show.
They do a good job on
Corey
Cheesehead TV.
with the gloves. You got Nagler ripping the heads off stuffed animals, getting pissed at shot plays. I love it. Great stuff.
It is great stuff. We don't have that clip still loaded in here, do we? Of them freaking out during that Dolphins. Oh, right here. Yeah.
4-man rush. Baker over the middle. Wide open. Hey, first down. F*** this defense. God, you get it behind the sticks every time, and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to be at first down again? Here you go. Soft ass every week.
Hey.
What's the point? Just let him score. Garbage. Every week. I'm so sick of it.
Corey with the...
He's like,
That is, you know what? That is the most like Wisconsin Midwest thing, right? Like, oh.
I did that 9 different times this homestand against the Marlins. Just yeah.
Oh, I'm uncomfortable. I do. Anyways, Kudo says, you listen to Packers podcasts, and they feel like our offensive line is a major weakness. They list, like, Garrett Bradbury is one of the lowest graded centers on PFF. Pressures allowed. Ed Ingram. Even Darisaw has allowed some pressures this year. Do we feel like the offensive line is a strength or weakness going into the Packers game?
Well, I think the tackles are. I think without watching a ton of games around the league each week, I think the Vikings have the best duo of tackles in the entire league. Like, I don't know that a team might have a better right tackle. I don't know that they've got a better right and left tackle than O'Neal and Darisaw.
I think it's fair to say that run blocking has been on point for this team all year. Pass protection.
I'm worried about the center and right guard every week. And the fact that Bradbury is now playing hurt, and the fact that Bradbury had, I don't think, and he was hurt, but he had, in my opinion, a bad game against the Texans. Ingram is always, you don't know, and he's very up and down. Brandel at left guard has given them a stability that has been great to see. But assuming that Kenny Clark is fine to play, and he did show up on the injury report, but I'm sure he'll play, I am always worried about the Packers when it comes to Garrett Bradbury and Ed Ingram playing for the Vikings.
Yeah. There's a couple criticisms coming up here on Feedback Friday and a snake draft of the week. You're not good at handling handy things like maybe a rickety deck, but that's why we have friends at Ugly Deck, Judd.
The key to life, Sports Dad has found, is to get friends. You need friends, and you need friends who know what they're doing, and especially what they're doing around your house. And that is exactly what Ugly Deck does, because they are on a mission to rid the world, fittingly, of all those ugly decks. Book a free estimate this month and get 3 free footings included. Just need a deck tweak, a little upgrade, get up to $1,000 off installation or a DIY deck package. For the DIYer, Ugly Deck can install your footings and ledger and save you from the mess and frustration on the hardest part, the most maddening part of building that deck. If you want the top carpenters in maintenance-free decks to build your entire deck, that's where Sports Dad would say, yes, I do. They build year-round, so book a free estimate today for a new deck. This year, a deck in fall with football on a TV on the deck and a beer in hand. You're saying, I'm in, Sports Dad. What do? It's this simple. Uglydeck.com. Uglydeck.com.
Football. Nicolay Law, shout out to them, the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Russell Nicolay and his team are here to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. They're very proud to serve the Twin Cities communities that they live in, just your normal everyday folks that you see around the Twin Cities that just happen to have law degrees. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay. You can start your path to winning at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. All right? Let's start. This is from noted Packer fan in our YouTube comment section. Still keep on losing. That's SKOL. Still, it's an acronym. Still keep on losing. And he says Kevin O'Connell's Politician Act can only last so long in the not for long league. Do you think, Judd, we've all gotten to know KOC just like from a media standpoint. You've been at the facility more than we have. Do you feel like KOC? I feel like PJ Fleck is a politician.
Right.
I think Kevin O'Connell is Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Like it or not, like I don't think he's being a politician. I think he's Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah. And I mean, is he a little bit different behind the scenes than what we get for the most part? Absolutely. So he's very polished. I don't feel like he's phony. He's very good at, in my opinion, I'm not coming across as phony, but for still keep on losing, I've got one question. And I'm not saying that they're the same person, but they share a lot of similarities. What's your take then on Matt LaFleur?
Yeah. Guy.
But I mean, they're both from that same tree, right? And they're both very good at they're both very good at the primary purpose of their jobs, and their personalities are different. But I mean, it's not like Kevin O'Connell and LaFleur. You're like, man, are they worlds apart? So I guess I don't like, if you're going to pick on the Vikings, there's certainly things to pick at. I don't think that a head coach who's from the same tree as your coach is where you should necessarily start. Still keep on losing.
Yeah, I think still keep on losing is just here to troll blindly in the comment section. It's fine.
Workshop the act a little bit more.
I agree.
Send, don't hit send with that half-ass act.
There's definitely ways you can poke at Vikings fans that will make us feel something. Calling Kevin O'Connell a politician when we all know that's not the case. You got to find something that's a little closer to reality to poke us with.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't think. Then Brian says, I think you have just lost a viewer of Purple Daily. I've watched the show for many years. I didn't agree with your stance on Kirk Cousins, but I figured now that he was gone, we wouldn't have to deal with the constant references to Kirk on your show. It's nauseating, and I am done. Hopefully, you will just enjoy the team for what it is, but I don't think I can continue watching you doing this to Kirk all the time. Sports Dad, do you have any thoughts?
Okay. Like, he was their starting QB for 6 years. We shared the same football bed for 6 years. And now I'm just supposed to forget it? Like, no, the comparisons are apt. So
sounds to me like, and this is the case, I've felt this with a lot of the Cousins Crusaders, the Kirk fanboys, that they've been much more committed to Kirk emotionally, football-wise, than the Vikings. And it's very triggering when there's any criticism of your favorite quarterback, or when there's any comparisons to how life is like now versus your ex, right?
Yes.
And I get it.
And I love
Brian. You're being kind of soft. I'm not gonna lie. Brian. You're being a little SAWFT. So,
but Brian, there's also and look, you know what? The vast majority of the thousands and thousands who watch us, who we appreciate and love, are here for our content. Like, they know how we operate and what we talk about. I mean, honestly, if you want Kirk off the table and Pollyanna just enjoy, you're at the wrong outlet.
And
which is fine. I'm not even criticizing that. You're just at the wrong outlet.
Yeah, and if you spent years and years and years poking those of us that wanted the Vikings to go in a different direction, or even calling us idiots or haters or whatever it may be, and then the Vikings go in that different direction, the sky doesn't fall, as all of you fearmongers out there were attempting to convince us of. We don't get to poke back a little bit when Sam Darnold has like the 5th best QBR in the entire NFL?
Right.
I mean, come on. This is all in good fun here. Brian, you're being a little soft. Just a little soft here. Okay. Maybe there's another show out there that won't hurt your feelings. That's all I got for feedback here. I think it's time for a little snake draft of the week, gentlemen.
Declan has been irrationally excited about this since Phil sent out the email.
I let you guys know last night, so you can prepare in advance here, that this week's snake draft of the week, in honor of playing the Green Bay Packers, cheese-related foods. It's a very wide definition, so it could be, we're just going to say cheese-related foods for the snake draft of the week. Some previous recent snake drafts are greatest moments in Vikings history in honor of Stefon Diggs' return last week, best current football broadcasters, best state fair foods, best NFL expansion cities, best chips, also things you would do if you signed a $100 million contract. This one's going to be cheese-related foods and presented in part by Federated Insurance. Federated's been out there helping business owners for over 100 years. Based in Owatonna, Minnesota. They are one of us, so to speak. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, they're all about protecting your business. They're focused on safety and preventing claims. It's like having a great offensive line for your business. Find out more and check out all sorts of resources over at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. The draft order will be Judd, Dex, I get the third pick, and then the wraparound. How do you guys feel about this? Cheese-related foods.
I like cheese. Like, I'm not, but I feel like Declan.
Hey, you've been awfully
like,
quiet about this since the text was sent out last night.
Look, I like things with cheese, so I'm not anti-cheese.
Yeah,
I know we both know.
Sounds like you don't like
Phil,
cheese based
who don't
on your
want
tone.
Cheese on their pizza, so like I'm not like that.
Yeah, I mean Tom Pelissero, not lactose intolerant, but also
and
doesn't
got very
like cheese
mad
on his pizza.
The first time that he held the cheese on something, I said, "Oh, so you're lactose intolerant," and he got like
you had some digestive problems there, guy.
He's like, I'm not lactose intolerant. I just don't like cheese. I'm like, okay, come on.
See, I have some lactose issues, and I love cheese, so I just go for it and deal with the ramifications.
I don't think I do. Anything I eat, just my stomach's weird, so I don't care. Just
if you have lactose problems,
give it to me.
If you have lactose problems, you know.
Yeah, well, no, I know. Well, milk is very triggering for me.
Yeah, I can't drink milk.
And certain types of cheese can be. But, if it's a Friday night and we're close to home or there's a nice bathroom at the restaurant,
then your stomach runs. That's my problem is it's like it goes. That's my problem.
That's the least of my issues if the stomach is just making some sounds.
That's not the sounds. It's the
some gas X, man.
It's the rumbling, and it's like that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, take some Pepto.
Now here's just quickly the last thing. The lactose. My problem is weird because I cannot drink milk. I can have like one small helping of cottage cheese if it's more. But here's what, but if I eat just like a piece of cheese, so like a solid piece of cheese, the problems don't kick up unless I eat a ton of it. And I don't know. And Dawn has thought for years that I make this up. She's like, you don't have a problem. It's in your head. I'm like, tell that to my stomach.
Yeah, I would recommend maybe just not eating a full block of cheese. Then
well,
maybe
I don't,
that's
but I'm just saying,
compromise.
But I'm just saying, if it's not solid, I can eat more of it.
So if we sprinkle some Parmesan on, you're fine.
Oh,
but if you eat a full block of brie, you might have some problems.
But more importantly, what I'm saying is if I eat 2 scoops of cottage cheese, problems. I have not had a glass of milk. I have not put milk on cereal
cottage cheese, dude.
For 35 years.
And rice. Cereal. I will starve to death before I take a bite of cottage cheese or rice pudding. I will starve to death. No,
you're not even listen. I'll defend cottage cheese a little bit here. I don't think it's on my big board here. It's not on my big board, but I'll eat some cottage cheese with chives, but not. There's like 2 or 3 spoonfuls.
That's fine.
Anyways, Judd, you're on the clock here with the first overall pick.
Okay, I do have a bunch of them here. I think there are some that you guys won't take, so I'm going to be judicious in how I go about this exercise.
Okay.
I'm going to start with nachos.
Just nachos.
Like a full, but like loaded nachos. Cheese is.
Should we say loaded nachos?
Sure,
loaded nachos.
Sure.
Okay.
Because cheese is like the lead guitar player, right? But then you got the bassist on
the
there.
chips are the bass, right?
Yeah,
the drummer.
Exactly.
Probably. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So not like just I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of cheese on my nachos. I'm talking about when you get the big platter. The cheese is what what draws it together.
It's great. The problem is there's a big variance with nachos. Like you see it on a menu, like, oh great, and then you get it, and it's just the presentation, the options. There's a wide variance. You could get a Daniel Jones, or you can get a Patrick Mahomes.
You know what? To me,
presentation,
I don't care. It's the size. It has to be big, and it has to be. It can look. The presentation can look bad. The product can be fantastic, in my opinion.
By the way, the voting for each of these snake drafts is available immediately after, like 5 to 10, maybe 30 minutes afterwards, on the Score North Twitter account, where you can vote on which team is the best. Declan, you are on the clock.
So I have a lot of options. I mean, I'm gonna have a UDFA class here, but I feel like I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't pick cheese curds.
Okay.
So I will take cheese curds, even though it's been selected on other snake drafts. Cheese curds.
Yeah, well, it was a snub on the state fair snake draft, and people were not happy about that.
So,
okay,
I'll make that easy.
All right, I'm gonna go. This is the number one thing on my big board, and it's sitting here for the wraparound. I get back-to-back picks. I'm gonna go macaroni and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
Just give me some mac. Now I could go hoity-toity. People always rip me for the ahi tuna crisps, but you ever have like lobster mac or
lobster mac's
like
great.
Put a little protein on that mac?
Yeah,
a little
mac and cheese.
Bacon mac and cheese.
Yeah.
We'll just go the mac and cheese family of foods. And then with the wraparound here, how bold do I want to go here? Let's go garlic cheese bread. Garlic cheese bread. Inject it. Just a little, just toasted.
Sure.
You know, like we do our little J.D. Hoyt's dinners once in a while, Judd, and they bring out that basket of like, glorious garlic cheese bread.
Yeah, it's glorious, but too much of it.
I need a little more enthusiasm from Judd on the cheese snake draft here.
What am I doing? No, I'm kicking in. I'm talking about my philosophies on cheese. Like, guys, I'm passionate about football and red zone. I can't keep that passion up for every subject, okay?
Mackey and cheese, yeah. Mac and cheese, that's right.
Yeah. Like a good album cover.
Yeah. Dex is back on the clock here.
Mackey and cheese sounds like a 1970s yacht rock. Michael McDonald, Dan Fogelberg.
Dan Fogelberg.
I'll take the grilled cheese.
Oh,
I love a grilled cheese. I won't put this in there, but a little grilled cheese tomato soup. Oh, dude, I could eat it. I could legit, speaking of, I just said cottage cheese, how much I just took a dump on that. I could eat a grilled cheese every single day. I could eat a grilled cheese every day. I love grilled cheese.
Do you ever put anything else, like tomato, or I suppose once you put a protein, it becomes more of a melt?
Yeah.
Than a grilled
but
cheese.
Still that, yeah.
Yeah, I've dabbled a little bit. Some ham in there is pretty good. You ever put some ham in a grilled cheese? That's pretty good. But
that's a hot ham and cheese sandwich. That's a different sandwich.
Yeah.
That's no longer a grilled cheese sandwich.
A grilled cheese cannot have, like, it just has to be a grilled cheese.
I think it's just a grilled cheese. Personally,
like,
you can put vegetables. You could put a tomato, and it's still a grilled cheese.
Yeah, I prefer the soup over the tomato.
It becomes a sandwich very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the soup on a cold day, you're dipping the grilled cheese.
Oh, great.
A little tomato soup, perhaps.
Back to Judd.
Okay, I'm going to take it.
Back-to-back picks here.
I'm going to take it because it's a wide swath, but I mean, my God, it can be great. It can be simple, but cheese pizza. But then you've also got that can be turned into a deep dish. That can be. I mean, cheese is the glue.
Pizza, yes.
Cheese is the glue. Cheese is the glue. Cheese is it's the center of the offensive line. It might not be sexy and you don't watch it a lot, but if it's good, it's the glue to the entire thing. So I'm going pizza.
And then that brings us to the first pick in the third round, Judd with the wraparound here.
Okay, is this my last pick?
This is it. Choose carefully.
I'm going to go, I am. And I'm going to go off the board a little bit from probably, I think that there's going to be questions about this pick.
I think I know where Judd's going.
But again, I do this for me. I don't do this to win the vote.
Okay.
So if I win, it's great. But here's what I'm going to go. So if you guys, and I think this is a Minnesota thing, if you guys go to Taco Bell, there's something called a cheeserito, which is literally hot cheese in a tortilla wrapped up. Okay. I don't think Taco Bells around the country have this. I've been told it's only here, but my God, you can house like 3 instantly, and it
like
is
a cheesy wrap up.
Yes, and after
Yeah.
a few beers, it is absolutely.
And it's called, what's it called again? A
Cheeserito.
Cheeserito. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, if you have like a few beers and a couple of these, it's proof that God exists. So the Cheeserito, which I've tried to get at Taco Bell's outside the state, and they have no clue, but they always do here. So that's my third one. Very much off the board, but just delicious. Probably one of my favorite uses of cheese, because it's one of those rare ones where the cheese gets to play lead. It's like when Ringo got to sing for the Beatles. That's the Cheeserito.
Yeah. Okay. And then we do have to wrap quickly here because we have Doogie waiting for a scoop session to record, which you guys can find on the Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd.
You got a lot of takes about cheese, Judd.
I'm passionate about life, Declan.
I will with my last pick. Give me the quesadilla.
Oh,
love me a quesadilla.
Also,
give me the quesadilla. Love a quesadilla.
Boy, the UDFA board here is strong.
It's good.
It's very strong. Okay, I'm gonna snub Cheez-Its. I'm gonna snub
Cheez-Its.
I'm gonna snub a charcuterie board. I thought that's where Judd was gonna go.
That was on my board as well.
Or do I take charcuterie board?
You could.
People saying Juicy Lucy. Although if I wanted to win the vote, I might go Juicy Lucy. I don't personally like Juicy Lucy's. They burn my mouth.
I'm not even gonna tell you what to take actually, because I don't want you to win.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits. Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Staple of training camp in Mankato. Our friend Dave Campbell of the AP lived for those trips.
Yeah, it was great. There was one time, I don't know if you were there. It was Dave Campbell from the AP, me, and then I think Chip Scoggins was there. Maybe you were there too. And at the table next to us was the Vikings defensive line room, Brian Robinson and all these guys.
Everything.
It was like a race across the room. We were all both looking at each other, the tables, like who can house the most Cheddar Bay biscuits, the media or the defensive line.
Hot take: the Juicy Lucy among the top 3 most overrated Minnesota things. Like, you got to go to this, you got to go to that to get the Juicy Lucy. Overrated as hell.
People calling this a weak draft here. Judd said Judd's team is loaded nachos, cheese pizza, and Cheeseritos. Declan goes with cheese curds, grilled cheese, and quesadillas. And then I go with mac and cheese, garlic cheese bread, and Cheddar Bay biscuits from Red Lobster. Patty melt, a snub, I feel like. Charcuterie boards, a snub. We probably could have gone 10 rounds on this one. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on Feedback Friday, Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, Vikings Vent Line right after Vikings Packers finishes up on Sunday. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl.